Tonight on Prime Business, coming up, Bank of Ghana increases dollar support for the market as it takes steps to sustain the cedi's stability. Details ahead. Also, Executive Director for Policy Initiative for Economic Development calls for stiffer punishment for public sector workers whose actions led to the state losing 17.4 billion cedis in the 2021 Auditor General's report.
Need for government to digitize procurement and processes, which will weed out or will get rid of human interfaces that promote unethical conduct or corruption.
Plus, Ghana Institution of Engineering calls for digitalization of public procurement processes to reduce incidents of corruption. More as the institution launches a scenario-based learning platform to strengthen ethics within the space. My name is Beverly Broohm. Please stay with me. Hello and welcome. Thanks for staying with us. The Bank of Ghana continues to increase dollar support for the market as it takes steps to sustain the cedi's marginal stability. The central bank was heavy on the market last Friday and this week, Monday, supplying dollars after a brief absence. The recent supply of dollars is separate from the Bank of Ghana's auction programs, where the bank sells to specific sectors of the economy. Since Monday, the Bank of Ghana has sold $75 million to the bulk oil distribution companies and other importers of general goods. Analysts have argued that the $750 million Afrexim loan and the expected $1.3 billion cocoa syndicated loan will all be major contributors to the sustainability of the Ghana cedi in the coming months. Joining me in studio with more is Assistant Editor of Joy Business, George Wiafe. Hello, George.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Nice, green top.
So tell me, what is this dollar support all about?
So, Beverly, we don't print dollars in this country. So, our major source of dollars has to come from the Bank of Ghana when we export and government export or agencies export, and these monies come to the account of Bank of Ghana, or when government goes to borrow from other countries. A recent one is the Afrexim loans. The money comes to Bank of Ghana's coffers. Or maybe look at commercial banks when you are engaged in any export activity, and when you export, the monies will hit your commercial bank that you save with. So the Bank of Ghana and the commercial bank, these are the two major sources of dollars in the country. And therefore, the Bank of Ghana has a system where when the requests are made, they sell these dollars to these companies and institutions. So that is the whole demand and supply dynamics why the Bank of Ghana is a major player when it comes to supply of dollars onto the market.
But tell me, what's the rationale behind this move?
Well, basically it's to ensure that maybe the big news was that the Bank of Ghana hadn't been on the market for a while, even though they have a separate program, an auction program, where people will bid through your banks. You bid that I need X amount of dollars at a particular date. And the Bank of Ghana gives an assurance that, listen, I will give you this amount of dollars at this rate maybe in October, and therefore the taking is done.
Is the bank giving this to individuals or companies?
You are bidding through your commercial bank. So yes, it's wired to your commercial bank, and then the commercial bank gives it to you as well. So that has been the practice that is there recently, where the Bank of Ghana auctioned the forward sale of dollars. But we've seen a situation where when it comes to the normal supply of dollars, the Bank of Ghana was not heavy on the market. It appears that because they've seen their reserves improve a little bit, so we've seen the Bank of Ghana come onto the market, and for a lot of people, it has a whole implication on the market in terms of what is happening right now. So that is why some might say it's a big deal, because they were not on the market, and now they are heavy on the market with respect to their normal dollar supply. But when it comes to the auction program, where you bid and they assure you that maybe in 2 weeks' time, when you need X amount of dollars, you get it. Because that thing was introduced to ensure that it prevents people from rushing to demand dollars when they don't need it. So the Bank of Ghana is telling you that if you need dollars in October, I have an undertaking that in October, I'll supply these dollars to you.
But tell me, how much is involved? I mean,
so for the normal supply of dollars, we don't have those fine figures here right now. But for the auction program, if you look at what was done on Monday and what was done, I think, yesterday, we're looking at somewhere around $75 million. And if you know how the Bank of Ghana had behaved in recent times in terms of how they are very strategic in the supply of dollars, you would say that this is quite significant that they've put on the market. And therefore, that is playing into what we are seeing right now on the market in terms of the performance of the Ghana cedi.
George, before I let you go, finally, what's the outlook of the cedi moving forward?
Well, in economics, they always say all other things being equal. Now, you realize that with the Afri-Exim loan coming in, the Bank of Ghana's reserve has improved a little bit. You're also going to get some $1.3 billion from the Cocoa syndicated loan coming in October. So you could see that the Bank of Ghana's reserves is picking up strongly. Another critical thing that would happen, that would impact on the cedi dynamics, is the argument that government is going to commence discussions with the IMF for a fund program from next month. So it is likely that we might see some fair stability on the market where those significant rate of depreciation is going to slow down significantly. If you put my head on the chopping board, if I look into the crystal ball, I think we are sure of some fair stability going forward. And if a program is closed early by this year, we may see some strong appreciation going into next year.
We'll leave it here. George Riafe is the assistant editor for Joy Business. Now, moving forward, government is yet to settle public sector workers' contribution to Social Security and National Insurance Trust amounting to 4.33 billion cedis. That's according to the 2021 Auditor General's report. Here's more.
The report recommended that management should liaise with the Controller and Accountant General's Department and the Ministry of Finance on the payment plan for defraying the outstanding debt. It therefore wants management to explain that SNIT already has a payment plan with the Ministry of Finance to ensure that the outstanding debt is paid. It, however, mentioned that government has so far made some efforts to settle the indebtedness, citing the year 2020, in which 2 bonds totaling 1 billion cedis were received as part payment of the indebtedness. The report further noted that 10 out of 45 unlisted equity companies SNIT invested in have not been paying dividend to the trust for the past 10 years. The total investment value of the 10 companies stood at 150.3 million cedis. The report therefore recommended that management should assess the operations of the companies to ascertain the reasons behind the poor performance and take strategic decisions that will safeguard the interest of the trust.
Meanwhile, Executive Director for Policy Initiative for Economic Development, Dr. Daniel Amate Enim, has called for stiffer punishment for public sector workers whose actions led to the state losing billions of cedis through financial irregularities. Speaking earlier on the marketplace, Dr. Amate Enim stressed the need for the government to recover the monies and also punish the offenders to discourage the practice in future.
Number one, by ensuring that we appoint the right people, we have to minimize appointment of political faithfuls. That's the first step. And then secondly, we must ensure that we apply the law to the latter. So for instance, if an institution fails to comply to lay down systems and rules, and as a result, irregularities emerge, then there's a need for sanctions to be applied. I'm of the view, respectfully, that if sanctions are applied, people will take governance and public institutions seriously, and they will do things that will ensure that they strictly comply with rules and systems as put in place by the Constitution or any other law currently in existence. So it is about compliance, it is about whipping it's about applying the whip as and when people flout regulations and systems. So to me, if we, as a serious nation, these are some of the things that ought to be done to ensure that we have a very efficient system running for the benefit of all citizens.
The Ghana Institution of Engineering is pressing the need to digitize all public procurement processes in the construction, infrastructure and engineering sectors of the economy. According to the institution, this has become necessary to reduce heightened corruption within the engineering space. President of the Ghana Institution of Engineering, Reverend Professor Charles Enum Adams, spoke at the launch of a scenario-based learning platform for the strengthening of the training of business ethics among members.
President of the institution, Reverend Professor Charles Enum Adams, expressed worry about how corruption has become widespread within the infrastructure, construction, and engineering sectors. He therefore urged government as well as professionals to embrace digitalization of procurement processes in the public sector as a means to curb them enemies.
We implore government to strengthen the Engineering Council of Ghana and enforce the regulations and laws governing the practice of engineering, so that many more engineering practitioners will register and therefore benefit from programs like what we are going to launch with the scenario-based learning tool. There is a need for government to digitize procurement and processes, which will weed out or will get rid of human interfaces that promote unethical conduct or corruption in construction, infrastructure, and engineering sectors to increase transparency. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Council of the Ghana Institute of Engineering, I'd like to appreciate the GIZ and the Alliance for Integrity.
It is against this backdrop that the institution has launched a scenario-based learning platform for the strengthening of the training of business ethics among the membership of the GHIE.
At our last council meeting, the decision was taken that all members will have an ethics certification program. They will go through an ethics certification program, and the SDL is one of the main components. And I was even discussing that we actually will suggest to the professional practice to come again. I think looking at what is on the platform, every member needs to do the SDL at least once within a certain period.
The launch was themed Digitalization as Strategy in Anti-Corruption Efforts and its Integrity Prospects in Africa.
To other stories now, Canada investors have announced plans to expand investment to Ghana in the area of technology. According to Senior Trade Commissioner at the Canadian High Commission in Ghana, Andrew Maharaj, both countries have had good trade relations over the years in diverse sectors, and the one field left to explore is green technology. Here's a report.
The maiden CEO's Connect Breakfast meeting by the Canada-Ghana Chamber of Commerce sought to provide a networking platform for Ghanaian and Canadian companies. Speaking at the event, Senior Trade Commissioner at the Canadian High Commission in Ghana, Andrew Maharaj, announced that the country's peace and democracy motivated Canadian businesses to expand in Ghana.
We are a world leader in technology, clean technologies. We have water and wastewater, energy efficiency, clean energy, hydrogen, everything, the gamut of clean technologies, world-class companies. We need to do a better job of promoting those companies and those capabilities. ICT, that includes fintech, telecoms, education technologies. I'm going to leave out a lot, but I'll just say cybersecurity, all of those products. If you look behind the scenes, we're not always the big consumer brands, but we're a lot of the B2B brands. So a lot of the big companies, if you look in the back office and the products they're using to support their business processes, they're often Canadian solutions. So we need to get more of that into the Ghanaian market, and these will be win-win opportunities.
Chief Executive of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Yofi Grant, urged Ghanaian businesses to form sustainable partnerships with Canadian companies to create job opportunities to minimize the migration of Africans for greener pastures.
Almost every country around the world is suffering from the 3 F's, as the IMF said it: high food prices, high fuel prices, and high cost of finance. Canada still shows some resilience and stability, so we have a lot to learn and engage with them. So I'm very delighted about that. I'm very delighted to be speaking to the business people here. I see a lot of young people who say, "Oh, I have to go here, I'll make it over there." And I'm saying, you people, you don't know. Because you don't travel, you think it's just easy to go and land yourself in somebody's country and you make it. when you have your own country. Even the resources you take to go to that country, if you have to use them well in your own country, you will make it. I'm pleading with those who are trying to sneak in that if your documents are not right, if your reasoning is not right, you may not get the visa.
President of the Canada-Ghana Chamber of Commerce, Alexander Norte, indicated that Ghana's economy has survived many challenges, making it a viable business environment to invest.
I must thank God, most of us thought that COVID was going to ravish Ghana. But you see, the challenges that we face through our economic challenges that we've faced over the years has built us, has given us resilience to be able to survive despite whatever, despite our bad economic rating, despite COVID, the pandemic, whatever that comes the shores of Ghana, we are able to take it and still thrive despite. So I know that we will still be able to surmount this challenge of having a negative rating from the rating agencies. We have to survive despite the challenges. We've always done so since the First Republic. We've been through coups, we've been through all sorts of challenges, famines, all sorts. But we're still surviving today, and I believe that Ghana still has a lot of potential, and it's people like you in this room that make that potential a reality.
The Bookbinders Association of Ghana calling the industry are saying the industry risks collapse due to economic challenges if there are no proper interventions to sustain their operations. According to the chairman of the association, Kwame Appiagyei, government's procurement processes in acquiring books for schools across the country should be devoid of middlemen. Speaking to Joy Business, he called for the government to factor the operations in its one district, one factory. Here's a special report.
As of today, a gram of 90 grams, that is the high bulk, is costing 690 and 850 Ghana cedis. But for the period of 3 months, it has increased over 500 Ghana cedis.
Those were the calls of the Bookbinders Association of Ghana. They are expressing concerns over high cost of operations due to the rising inflation in the country and are threatened to halt the printing of exercise books. I decided to visit one of the factories in Accra where the binding of these books are done. There I met Mr. Amuzu, who is a member of the Bookbinders Association of Ghana, for some engagement.
Right, so we are in one of the factories of bookbinding here in Accra. We want to know what really goes into the binding of these books for students out there. I have here the owner of the factory to speak to. But first and foremost, he will be taking me through some of the process. Where do we start from to where we end? Mr. Amuzu, we have a call here. I just am worried a lot of issues near there, but answer the Boko issues, what goes into the making or the binding of the books in Ankasa? See, most of the things in
that's you got paper now, you got stage, and that here, I share a bit of Kotoku, size near 34.
These are some of the basic components we employ to create our books. At the industrial sector, we obtain the papers from a retailer. The papers are from India and imported.
That's margin lines. Wait to me, but you use machine margin lines.
When we are done marking it, we return it to the puller machine to fold and cut the papers into desired shapes. He controls the ruling machine.
Notebook, exercise book, graph, sketch, money, that is only filled. But if textbook there, I want you filled. But yet today be as a buy other books young fan comma way schools. Yeah, maybe I'm your books. Maybe a book, free.
What we do are notebooks, exercise books, and graph books. We do not publish textbooks. We frequently hear that government is producing books, but we are unsure of the source. The government hasn't given us any compensation. For us, things are quite difficult.
But say the other day, say the air corner, and we had thing. Me, ma. Book way, size we are, meditate way. January, book way, January, near corner, 6 cities. 6 cities.
Previously priced at 6 cedis, this book is now 10 cedis. Currently, a full scalp notebook costs 12 cedis, up from 8 cedis in January.
January, 8 cedis, but 12 cedis.
How about exercise books?
Exercise book. Now, before, now single, bako. Now, without cover, 1 cd 20 pesos. Says here, 2 cd 50 pesos.
With respect to the current economic challenges, he indicates that non-existent incentives for the industry and high import and taxes on bulk printing is killing the industry.
Name taxes are tutu and Niamano Swa, a man paper bono, it's because of dollar.
Taxes on the importations of these papers are huge, and the importers are also extorting money from us, indicating that the dollar is not stable, so they predict the forex rate for us.
Book, me a book so, and so Okodu school I say, Jemikoto book no school. Yeah, mammy ban school. Jemikoto school.
Though I am a bookseller, the schools forbid me from giving some of the books to my children, even though I would have liked to.
Now, how about book we say the call can she 10 cities. Obi ko 4 can she the call wale or the call 15. Wale in the back of 20 cities. And no or how no another thing.
Kwame Appiah, the chairman for the association, claimed that the government has failed to factor the association's view in its policy interventions.
It's affecting us heavily and it's going to worsen our plight. It's going to worsen the situation. If they are going to implement this tariff, it's going to worsen everything. It's so serious. Because this bigger machine, if you buy 200 cedis worth of power, within a week, of a gun.
He further called on the Ministry of Education and other stakeholders to support and revive the industry. He entreated government to take a second look at bookbinding.
We are now calling the government to come into our aid, especially the 1D, 1F. In Ghana here, if you say factory, you think factory is a big building. But here's a factory what? Because what we are producing. So we need incentive. We don't need the structure because we have the structure already. If I close this shop and turn out these young guys, what are they going to be? Some of them will enter into a situation that maybe I will be comfortable. Not these guys alone. We have casual. I mean, when the school vacates, the senior high, the junior highs, we employ them and give them something to support their parents.
And And that was a report put together by my colleague James Ishen. And that's how we end Prime Business here on the Joy News channel. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Beverly Broohm. I leave you with news making headlines on the international front.